I wanted to be free.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be free. I wanted to do whatever I want
Hmm.
without being told you're going to hell, or oh, you're in trouble again, or yeah,
Truly.
I just wanted to be free. Do it. I can do this.
Yeah.
I contacted one of my cousins who had left already like 2 years before,
Hmm.
and asked him, hey, can you come pick me up? And he said, yes, I will come pick you up. I told him where, what time. So Sunday afternoon, because Sundays we don't work, Sundays our Sabbath. And so Sunday afternoon, I asked one of my sisters to go on a walk with me. Of course, they're going to blame her. Why did you let her leave? Why didn't you talk her into staying? Why didn't you bring her back with you?
Yeah.
Which, of course, in my mind, as a 18-year-old, I didn't care. I didn't think about that. I just wanted out.
Yeah.
Whatever I needed to do to get out, I was going to do it. And the funny part is my cousin forgot about it. He actually forgot that he
Agreed.
agreed to come pick me up.
All right. Why don't we start with your name?
So my name is Sarah, and I grew up in Michigan, but currently living in Asia as a full-time missionary.
So you grew up quite differently than the world that you're living in right now. About there was some abuse in your past. You considered your upbringing to be cultish, and then you escaped. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? And then we'll touch on the amazing mission work that you're doing. I know you mentioned a large number of different countries that you've been in, and you're currently in the Philippines. So if the video lags a little bit, viewers, we're sorry. I think we're pretty much half a world away from each other. I'm in Canada. So, Sarah, why don't you take it over and start out your childhood?
In a Swartz and Trooper Amish community in Michigan, actually. And very strict. For those that don't know much about the Amish, there are many different communities within the Amish community. So my experience is not going to be the same as everybody else. So I'm not speaking for my experience. I'm not speaking as a whole for the Amish community. I'm only speaking from my own family and from the um, small community that I grew up in.
Mhm.
But yeah, we're from one of the strictest communities within the Amish,
Mhm.
and not allowed to have electricity, not allowed to have any like tractors, modern conveniences, none of that. And so, while I would say I'm very, very grateful for the things that I learned growing up, for the skills that I learned, the family aspect of things, the communal aspect of things of the community. There are definitely things that people don't know from like what happens within the community, that especially if you've never been
Mhm.
inside of any of the communities. And I know cult is a very strong word, but the way they operate is definitely the definition of a cult.
Mhm.
Um, and so uh I don't know, like growing up, I didn't think of it as abuse. I didn't think of it as like abnormal because
Mhm.
it was just what we knew. It was what everybody did.
Mhm.
But yeah, like there's consequences for every rule that you break, and there's different consequences depending on what they deem as, a higher what do you call that? Like there's levels of, okay, if you break this rule, there's a lower consequences, versus if you break this rule, there's a higher consequence. So
Mhm. Mhm.
they determine which one is worse than the other one.
Mhm.
And so I'm grateful for my parents. I don't want to uh really speak negative of my parents. They did the best they knew. They did the best they could,
Yeah.
from what they had. But there's for sure, like, how do I put this kindly? Like child, like from a very young age, we're taught to
Mhm.
work hard, to do whatever you're told, and you're not allowed to question anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so being younger, I was okay with it until I became a teenager and I started questioning everything of, wait, why do I have to dress like this?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I speak English? Because that's one of the things we were taught English in school, but we were not allowed to speak English in our home.
Mm-hmm.
And just I can see the outside world. I can see how everybody else is living,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't touch it. And so starting with like questioning my mom a lot. Mom, why can't I do this? Why do I have to do this?
Mm-hmm.
And the only answers I ever received was because that's what our parents taught. And the Bible says we have to obey our parents.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one was because the bishop said so.
Yeah.
Whatever the bishop says, that's what happens.
Okay.
And so that's where the cultish part comes in, is you don't get to choose, you don't get to make your own decisions. Everything you do has to be okayed by the bishop. If you want to change something, bring in something new, or yeah, anything, it has to be passed by the bishop. And if the bishop says no, then it's no. You
Okay.
don't get to and if you want to do it anyways, you will get excommunicated or punished. There's high consequences for not obeying the bishop. And
Mm.
so there's literally no okay, I can get out if I want, and I can still, have my family, I can still communicate with the community. It doesn't work. It's like you're either Amish or you're not. And
Yeah.
if you're Amish, okay, you can be part of us. But if you decide to not be, then you're out.
Yeah.
You're not part of us. You're not part of the community. We will not disclose anything about what's going on in the community with you. And so I this is a few years ago. I actually Googled the word cult because I was curious the actual definition of it. And when I read it, I was like, wow, okay, this is definitely
I
what
was
what I
right.
would call a cult. Almost like you talk about it, but you don't think you will actually do it. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
talking about it like it's a joke.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go do this and this, but we don't say it as in, oh, I'm actually definitely gonna do this. It's more of just all words and no talk, or all talk and no show.
Yeah.
But over the last year of me being home, I, yeah, I was definitely seriously thinking about it. I would think about what I would do, where I would go,
Mm-hmm.
how I would do it. Um, and of course, all of those things were also the reason I didn't leave, because I didn't know how I would do it. I didn't know what I would do. I didn't know where I would go.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so uh yeah, I would talk about it for like for it was around a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then the when I actually got to the point of leaving, there's multiple different things, but the reason I left was because I was tired of the hypocrisy within the community, and um that, yeah, like the way my family was being treated, it just nothing was fair.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be free.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be free. I wanted to do whatever I want
Mm-hmm.
without being told you're going to hell, or uh oh, you're in trouble again, or yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to be free.
Yeah.
And of course, initially I left out of rebellion. I left because, yeah, I just want to go do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
And so the process was I contact one of my cousins, and when I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it, I can do this,
Yeah.
I contacted one of my cousins who had left already like 2 years before,
Mm-hmm.
and asked him, hey, can you come pick me up? And he said yes. I will come pick you up. I told him where, what time. So Sunday afternoon, because Sundays we don't work, Sundays our Sabbath. And so Sunday afternoon, I asked one of my sisters to go on a walk with me. And it was summertime, so it was normal for us to sometimes go for walks, go on. My dad owned a 100-acre property. And so there's a woods in the back. So we would go walk through there. And so I asked my sister to go on a walk with me. And so as we got to the back, it's like a dead end road. I told her that I'm not going home. I'm going to leave. And she was devastated. She did not want me to go. And the sad thing is also, or the hard part was, she had to go back by herself and face my parents.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they're going to blame her. Why did you let her leave? Why didn't you talk her into staying? Why didn't you bring her back with you?
Yeah.
Which, of course, in my mind, as a 18-year-old, I didn't care. I didn't think about that. I just wanted out. Whatever I needed to do to get out, I was going to do it.
Yeah.
And so my poor sister had to, deal with the consequences of facing my parents and all of that. And then the funny part is my cousin forgot about it. He actually forgot that he agreed to come pick me up.
The great escape.
So I'm waiting for 30 minutes after the time, and I'm thinking,
I'm sorry. It's not like it's
like,
funny after the fact, right?
Okay.
Here you are, you've said your goodbyes and your ride's not there. So yeah, that would be, what were you feeling at that time? Were you feeling like I'm going to have to go back and tell my parents that I was trying to leave and now I'm not?
Well, yeah. Well, yes and no, because I could have gone back and just not said anything, because it would have been like, oh yeah, we just went for a walk. Okay, we're back now. I could have played it off 100%, but I was so nervous because I'm like, I finally planned this. I finally did it. I got away with it without anybody knowing. I got away without anybody, trying to bring me back or trying to talk me into staying. And then, yeah, there was all these things in my head. I was so scared. And so I was just like, oh, what am I going to do? Maybe he forgot. So I went to our neighbor's house and I used their phone and called him because I had his phone number memorized.
Yeah.
Gone are the days of knowing phone numbers in your head, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I called him, and when he picked up, he's like, oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I forgot. Okay, I'm coming. I'm on my way. And so that happened. But yeah, he picked me up, everything worked. And then I ended up having to face my dad. I was getting on a bus all by myself to go from Michigan. So I grew up in Michigan, but I went to Minnesota the first couple years after I left. And so when I was at the bus station waiting for the bus, my dad showed up at the bus station.
And how long was this after you had left?
And just a couple days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Only a couple. So news in the Amish community spread like wildfire.
Okay.
Like something happens, the community knows sometimes within hours.
It's like, we don't need Facebook or social media, I guess.
But so my dad had, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, my dad found out that I was planning to go to Minnesota because I had a cousin living there that I was going to go to, and like he was going to help me with getting a job and everything. But my dad shows up at the bus station because he heard that I was going to Minnesota, and he was hoping that I would be on that bus schedule. And I had already changed. I wasn't wearing my Amish clothes anymore. I was wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And even that was really awkward and strange for me because I had never in my life been outside without a dress. And so a lot of changes, a lot of new things, but I did not want to see my dad. I did not want to face my dad. I didn't want to talk to him,
Hmm.
but he saw me. He came and he talked to me a little bit, and he tried to ask me to, or tell me that you can come back with us. You can come back home because my brother was with him.
Okay.
And I was like, nope, I've come this far. I've made these plans and I don't want to go home.
Yeah.
And
And
so I
was he
had to get on
angry?
the bus.
Okay.
My dad standing there watching. Um, yeah, that was one of the hardest walks I've ever made in my life.
But you did it. You broke
Uh,
free.
I did it, yeah. And so I went to Minnesota. I lived there for 2 years. And in those 2 years is when because I was already rebellious within the Amish community. I had already started drinking, and I had a cell phone my dad didn't know about. I had earphones, I had music, that I had to hide all of these things they didn't know.
Hmm.
So when I left, the drinking continued, definitely got worse, and hanging out with the wrong people, um, and just pursuing that money and material things because I didn't grow up with anything. I had never had any money. I never had really anything that was mine growing up. And so now that I'm free and I can have whatever I want,
Yeah.
let's have it all, right?
Hmm.
I wanted to have a phone. I wanted to have be able to watch TV. I wanted to have music, all of these things. And I worked 2 and 3 jobs just to, and I learned very quickly also that everything costs money in this world.
Hmm. Yep.
And so, yeah, I really pursued money, material things, relationships, all of these things. And of course, my life didn't become fulfilled like I thought it would because I'm thinking, oh, if I can just get out of this community, I can be free and I can do whatever I want, I will feel happy.
Yeah.
And I think, most people know that that's not how it works.
Hmm.
Um, and we can try to pursue these things, but it left me more empty. And I ended up in a unhealthy relationship. And I wanted out, wanted to escape. And I thought my only way out was to go back to my family.
Mm.
And so after 2 years of being out, I was really searching for the Lord at that time. I was really searching for truth. I was searching for meaning in life. I
Hmm.
was so depressed. I didn't really understand my purpose in life. I didn't want to live anymore. And I thought, why am I here?
Hmm.
There's no purpose for me. I'm just existing.
Yeah.
And so during that time, I went back to my family actually for a couple of months, but within the first couple of weeks, I was like, this is not it. This can't be all there is. This can't be, you know, all I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I called a pastor that I had connected with and knew a little bit. I had his information. And so I called him and I just asked him, I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's right. I want to do what's right. I want to follow Jesus,
Hmm.
but I don't know how. Like
Hmm.
my parents tell me one thing, and I feel like what I read in the Bible is another thing. But the Bible also says, obey your parents. The Bible also says, honor your parents. And I want to obey and honor my parents, and I want to follow the Lord. How do I do that?
Hmm.
And so he explained to me the Pharisees, about the Pharisees, and just how religion kept them from seeing the truth and actually recognizing the Messiah that they had been waiting for.
Hmm.
And it finally made sense. I was like, oh, wow. Okay. So you don't have to be Amish to go to heaven,
Yeah.
because that's what I had been taught. If you want to go to heaven, you have to stay Amish and you have to follow the rules. And
Hmm.
even then, you don't know.
Hmm.
You don't know if you can go to heaven.
Yeah.
So for me, that was a hopeless life.
Yeah.
But to have this reassurance. And so when I hung up the phone, I didn't have all the answers to my questions, but I knew one thing. I wanted to follow Jesus, and I
Hmm.
needed to leave my community in order to do that.
Yeah.
And so I left again and I moved to North Dakota, where my best friend was living at the time. And that's when I really surrendered my life to Jesus and found a good uh, community of believers
Hmm.
that discipled me and helped me to read the Bible, learn how to read the Bible. And yeah, that's also where my journey to mission started, was in North Dakota.
That's cool. So, where was your first mission trip then, Sarah?
Sorry.
That's okay. You're you're in the Philippines, I'm in Canada. It's bound to happen. Where was your, did you want to talk about how many countries you've been to and what you're doing in those countries?
Yeah, I can do that. So as of today, I've been to 15 different countries,
Wow.
and that's all over Latin America, Africa, and Asia.
Hmm.
Um, and the Middle East, I think, is considered part of Asia, but I've been to one country in the Middle East as well.
Wow.
Um, yeah, um, so what I do, I uh am very much into how do I explain this? Sorry, I didn't think about this ahead of time, how
Okay.
to
That's
explain
okay.
this. Um,
Take your time. There's no rush.
I guess basically what I do, um, yeah, sorry,
It's okay.
interruption. Um, yeah, so basically what I do is I train churches. My goal is to connect and train churches to for discipleship and church planting.
Mm.
And so the group that the ministry that I'm connected with is CMC, Church Multiplication Coalition.
Mhm.
And we are in over 90 countries, I think like 100 and probably over 100 by now, I'm not sure.
Wow.
Um, and so I just connect with whoever we're already connected with in that country and work with the local believers, training them, giving them tools in how to share the gospel,
Mhm.
how to do simple discipleship Bible studies, and then planting churches,
Wow.
especially where there are no churches yet.
Good for you.
And so we also do evangelism with them. And so yeah, we try to do different activities with them as well as part of the training. So
Yeah.
when we do the training, try to do the activate them on the spot. So if there's a training for evangelism, I will tell you, okay, here's the tools. Okay, now let's go do it together.
Yeah.
Um, and so really activating the body of Christ to do the work of the ministry that
Mhm.
we've been called to do.
That's awesome. So, has there been, I'm wondering about all these different countries. If you want to speak to, have you run into any dangerous people or dangerous animals?
That's a common, interesting question. Dangerous animals. I mean, I've seen a lion
Yeah.
alive and
Snakes,
out in the
spiders.
wild, but was I in danger? No, I was not in danger.
That's good. So
um,
you've traveled the world now
yeah.
and you haven't felt in danger at all. So the security or wherever you're staying is pretty, you're pretty safe.
Well, I that really depends who you ask.
Okay.
I'm the type of person that so far,
Hmm.
every place I've gone to, I haven't felt afraid for my life.
Hmm.
Now, have I ever been in situations that I maybe should have been? maybe, but it's not when I go place. Safety is, for me, this is just me. I can't speak for all missionaries, but for me, safety is not usually my first concern.
Okay.
It's not, I don't wait to go to a place until I think it's like 100% safe, or nothing's gonna happen to me. If I feel like the Lord is calling me to go here, I'll
Mm-hmm.
go there.
Yeah.
Um, I've been to places, and a day later there was a military or rebel outbreak, like 5 people were killed. Um, but when I'm in these places, like I don't think about, okay, is there someone here that might want to kill me? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not really on the forefront of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I kind of take the approach of Paul. He always prayed for opportunities to share the gospel no matter where he is or what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And like he didn't really ask people, pray that I will be saved, pray that I will not be persecuted, but he asked them to pray for opportunities to minister and to share, no matter where he was or what situation he was in.
Yeah.
So that's just me.
No, that's fantastic, That's great. Um, is there anything else you want to add about your story, like how your relationship is with your parents now? Are you able to go back to the community if you want to, or what's your plan? Are you going to stay in ministry for the rest of your life?
I was still able to go home to visit. I mean, they have rules and things in place that when I do go visit, they want me to do this or they want me to be like this. Um, and I can only stay for this long or whatever. Um, but and writing. So they would still write me. I would still get letters, we'd write back and forth. But since last year, when I told them I'm planning to get married, I actually haven't heard from them since then.
Okay.
And so it's been over a year since I heard anything from them.
Hard.
And I don't know for sure where I stand with them or where they are,
Mm-hmm.
if they would be okay with me coming to visit now at this point. Yeah, so not really having closure with that. Not sure
Mm-hmm.
what is happening there, but
Yeah.
yeah, just praying that that will change,
Yeah.
that there will be open doors to be able to go visit. And of course, I want to meet my husband. I want them to know my family also.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely plan to stay in ministry. My life goal right now is just to continue to travel the nations, continue to do missions
Yeah.
with my family. However, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of new. I just got married in May, so we're still figuring all this
Congratulations.
out together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's exciting. Congratulations.
thank you.
Um, well, before we go, I always like to ask people for permission to use this on my YouTube channel. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. And you also have a
No
YouTube
problem.
channel about your journey. So if people want to follow along with where you are and what you're doing, I'll link that in the bottom so they can follow along and see how you're making out.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much for
Awesome.
your time
Awesome. Very
today.
good. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was wonderful talking to you. Your story is very fascinating, and I think it's amazing what you're doing with all the mission work and, spreading the love of God, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Lord. I couldn't do this without him. I mean, if I think about my story, like how I was raised and where I am now, this is definitely a miracle. And it's only by the grace of God that this is even possible,
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm. Amen. Well, thank you, Sarah. And we'll hopefully maybe we'll hook up again in another year or so, and you can tell me where you're at and all the other countries that you've been to.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, no problem.